Hello, guys. Good morning to you all. I hope you all are doing okay. It's Saturday, as always. It's Saturday trade recap. So, during the course of the week, like I said on yesterday's post, I never did anything because of the hailstorm that took out the power. So, I'm definitely just going to check what happened on the charts, what price did. So, on Friday, I then said I was waiting for price on GBPUSD to pull back to this level of 1.32500. So here is my 4 hour time frame. Let's dive into the 1 hour time frame. So here is the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, my buy to was already in place, like I said yesterday. So let me fall down to my 15-minute time frame. So I was waiting for price to eventually pull back to this level or get back to this level from here. I was waiting for price to eventually pull back to this level. I was waiting for price to pull back to this level. Okay, let me delete that. Yeah, I was waiting for price to pull back to this level. Just hold on a little bit. Don't know what's wrong with my stuff, but let me try to delete. So I was waiting for price to eventually pull back from this level to this level. Okay, hold on. I think my magnet is on, so I have to turn it off. It's just contradicting the whole stuff. So I was waiting for price to pull back to this level. So this was what I was waiting. Then before I could go in long, well, what happened? Price failed to close up yesterday on that level, so I stayed out. So for my 4 hour time frame, you can clearly see I was waiting for price to eventually pull back to this level. And why was I waiting for that? Because I see the market was forming a new high. You see, market here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, then higher high, higher low. Then we expected a new high, but what happened? Market failed to put a new high here. So what happened? Price then came here, higher low, then higher high. Then market rejected from this level, and then what happened? Market eventually broke above this level looking left. Market eventually broke above this level. So market eventually broke above this level. So what am I waiting for now? I was waiting for price to eventually pull back to this level that price has eventually breaking up. Then once price came back to that level, then I was going to buy. That was where my bias was coming from because it was a market structure. You see here, higher low here. Then what happened again? Market created a new high. So I was waiting for the pullback into the high that was broken before it formed a new high. So that was why I was waiting for a buy setup on GBPUSD, like I said yesterday. So I was waiting for price to eventually pull back to this level before I could go in for a buy trade. So that was what happened. Eventually, price never did that. So the market closed off without price doing that. So that was also fine, and that is fine. So the reason why for me I do that is because that is where I found an edge. Because for me, it's all about finding my edge. It's all about finding them and executing my trade. So when I find my edges, I definitely feel more confident and more comfortable taking a trade, knowing that it's on my plan based on the edge I have. So once I find my edge, it's about then determining what I'm willing to risk and all that. But definitely finding my edge gives me a better opportunity of then finding a good setup. So that was what happened on GBPUSD, as you can clearly see. Eventually, I'm going to pay attention to when the market opens officially on Monday for the next week to see eventually if market is going to retest this level. But I'm so confident, or rather I will see what's going to happen. But based on market structure, I expect market to pull back before making the next buy move. So that's where I'm going to find my entry positions on my lower time frame, which is my 15-minute time frame. So that was what happened on GBPUSD. So, and I need you to pay attention as well. I need you to pay attention to my high of the week and the low of the week. Whenever I mark this high and low of the week, price tends to shape off it, like it gives me the directional bias. If you've been following me, you definitely understand now why I mark out this high of the week. It's part of my core principles of, on how I trade, on how I analyze my pairs. So, as you can clearly see, after marking it out, what did price tell me? Eventually, price was struggling to break above it, but what happened? Price broke above it significantly, and what that told me, and this whole movement happened the course of last week that just ended. It happened, this whole movement happened the course of the week that just ended. So what happened was it shaped the directional bias for the week that just ended. It shaped the directional bias. And I say whenever I see price broke above it, we tend to have more of the bias for the week. And this is a typical example. So that was what happened on GBPUSD. I'm waiting patiently when the market opens on Monday to see price retest this level because it confirms the market structure. So that's the reason why I'm going to be looking out for GBPUSD to see this market structure being formed. So that was that on GBPUSD. So let's jump into gold. Well, gold definitely there wasn't any more much movement on Friday. Like I said, on Friday I marked out the high and low of the week, and what happened was market shaped up to head to the ground side. Market was definitely shaping up for a sell, but eventually market never sold significantly, so it did sell some portions, but it's never sold significantly. But market closed up, as you can clearly see, the high of the week, the low of the week. So on this day, you can clearly see it gives me confidences already. You see the rejection on the high of the week, then you see the high psychological level there acting as resistance as well. So obviously the W pattern, the MO pattern being formed here. Definitely that was a quick sell, 50 pips or more than 50 pips because price eventually got to almost 80 pips here. So eventually you can see that was a quick sell. If I'm to sell, I was going to sell here on my lower time frame based on what the conferences I found, 3/4 conferences here for me to sell. So you can clearly see there wasn't any much movement on gold for the week that just closed. So did nothing. Let's jump into USD JPY. So USD JPY as well yesterday. This is my 4 hour time frame, but what I definitely noticed was market was creating lower lows, not higher highs. Market was creating lower lows. So as you can see, my trend line definitely based on there's relevancy on this trend line. On my other topics, definitely my lessons I will talk about relevancy on trend lines and all that. But definitely there's relevancy. So yesterday I was definitely seeing an opportunity to also sell on USD JPY. I was seeing an opportunity to sell. So eventually I missed it out, or rather I missed out because when I was supposed to sell was when I saw this reaction from the 1 hour time frame. I saw this, I saw price reacting up this level. That was my entry position. That was my entry position. That was exactly my entry position. That was what I intended to do to sell USD JPY. You can clearly see when price eventually triggered this level, it triggered the psychological level, then you can see the low of the week, then you can see a trend line. So that already gave me three confluences already. It gave me 3/4 confluences. So it gave me an opportunity to sell. But what happened again, price eventually was pulling back to that level again. You can see retested off the the low of the week. So this was definitely the second entry. This was definitely the second entry. I'm trying to highlight that level so you can clearly see. That was definitely the second entry. So at this point, this was the second entry for me to sell USD JPY. At this point, this was the second entry eventually. But we're definitely going to see. Eventually, we're going to see what happens. But I never sold because I definitely missed the first entry. So I was waiting for more confirmation for the second one. So that was what happened. The market has eventually closed. So imagine this was just a recap of what happened while I was away or why I didn't do anything based on the hailstorm that knocked out the power. So let's jump into GBP JPY. You can literally say it's the same. So let me fall down to my 4 hour so we can get a proper understanding about that. Well, did nothing on GBP JPY, but for me, If I'm definitely to do anything on this day, if I was there, I was definitely going to be on the buy side, because once I saw this price and this rejection of this level, I was going to position for a buy. I was going to position for a buy. Once I saw all this position here, because why? This gave me three conferences out of my four conferences. I can see based on this being the 4 hour time frame, the overall time frame being a day trader. So this is definitely three conferences on this level on my 15-minute time frame. So by the time price I saw price reject like this and saw this, I was definitely going to position for a buy, because why? I saw the psychological level acting as support, and then I saw the low of the week, and I saw price action, in this case the blue pattern being formed here. That gave me 3/4 conferences for me to position for a buy trade on GBP JPY. So that was definitely what I was going to do. And also, remember, this was the first confirmation for the first buy trade, and I spot another confirmation of the buy trade also here. So from here, I see another entry point for me to go in for a buy trade as well. I see another entry point. Why? Here is the psychological level acting as support again, and then here is the high of the week acting as definitely support again, and then what happened? And here is a double pattern being formed again on top of psychological level, high of the week, and price and you can see 3/4 complexes price action. So that's definitely why I was definitely going to be positioning for a buy trade from my 15-minute time frame on this level, because it gave me three of my four conferences. So whenever you see my conferences align, we have to execute the trade without fear or panic. So that was definitely what happened, or what I was going to do on GBP JPY if I was around. But definitely that was all that happened. That was all that happened. Okay, here is the last example after marking the low of the week. So I'm just trying to show you this so you can understand this as a core principle of how I trade, how we trade, how we analyze pairs. All I do and all I have to do when I come in after seeing the reaction. So on USD card, you can clearly see on my 4 hour time frame, I marked out the high of the week, which it's been labeled, and then you see the low of the week as well. So on this case, what happened? What happened on this case after marking this level out? So let's just string this a little bit, just trying to show you the thought processes and why we were definitely looking for a sell on USD card for the week that just ended. So let me not just go too deeper. Let me just try to draw your attention by drawing out this level. As you can clearly see on this level here, it's a level of interest. This level has been tested multiple times by price. All I want you to do is to pay attention to this level. Whenever price comes to this level, see what happens. See the reaction and how price reacts. On this day, yeah, if I have to draw it backward, yeah, it's gonna be a lot, but I just want to make this video as short as it can be, but it's getting long as well. So let's just wrap it up. So this level is a level of interest. It's a level of interest. So as you can clearly see, I'm trying to give you the thought process between my marking, my high of the week and the low of the week. So as you can clearly see, this level is the level of interest. Price has eventually reacted off this level. On this day, you saw price came here, it bounced off it, then went back, came back again, bounced off it, bounced off it, bounced off it. Then eventually, what happened on this level? Price eventually here broke below it. It broke below it. So that was when the price broke below that level. So what happened again? Price eventually came back to that same level, reacted off by price, and what happened again? Price broke above that level. Price broke above that level. So I want you to see again, price broke above the level, and then what happened again? Price retested the same level, bounced off it, retested, bounced off it, retested, then bounced off it as well. Then price eventually came back to the same level, bounced off it again. So eventually price came back here again, bounced off it, bounced off it, bounced off it, bounced off it. Then what happened again? Price eventually broke below it. So when I saw this is definitely my understanding of market structures. This is my understanding of what price is likely to do based on the technical analysis and based on price action. So as you can clearly see, after marking the high of the week and low of the week, seeing this level that has been tested by price on multiple occasions, I definitely knew all I had to do is to be patient. All I had need to do is to be patient to see a confirmation or to see an entry position for me to go in for a sell trade on USD card on my 15 minutes. So as you can clearly see, on the 4 hour time frame, immediately I marked out high of the week and low of the week yesterday. I saw that we're definitely going to be positioning for a sell trade on USD card. So as you can clearly see, eventually price eventually did have any peak movement. 50 pips, 100 pips, 150, 200. Likely it's going to complete 200 pip movement on USD card. So this is definitely why you see me mark this level out, because they are very important core principles of how I analyze, how I trade. So this is definitely why you see it on my trade. It shapes and gives me the directional bias for the week. As you can clearly see, we had more of the sales. We have more of the sales on USD card. Doesn't mean we're not going to have more of the buys. So this is definitely what I do, how I trade, how I analyze my pairs, and you should definitely like as well how I analyze my pairs, my thought processes, how I mark out my high of the week, my psychological levels. I want you to hit the subscribe button. I want you to like for more.